become my 80, which has now become my God knows what. But we found so many home addresses that we still had their old address. Did anybody run across that? I'm thinking, I'm like, how did we sell those people a house? And I didn't, I remember the sale, it wasn't that long ago, and somehow we missed that step. Yeah. So 45 days ago, we lobbed this out here as the LB challenge. It had 10 different names by the time I botched it up. But collectively, I would have to grade us about a 5, to be perfectly honest with you. We don't have a lot of 9s and 10s. We probably have some 0s and 1s. Is anybody just getting started on that? And that's cool too, by the way. That's totally cool. All right, good. Thanks for being here. We're going to try to validate why the heck we would even want to go down this path. So those of you that did how many of you did quite a bit of this work in the last 60 days on this? Okay. Give some ahas as to what you found, good, bad, and otherwise during that process. Share that with the group. Sandy, lead us off.
Go through and I find people that I hadn't talked to for several years.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
That's not a bad thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
I didn't stay focused on it.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I realized that there was people that I realized that were in my top 40 that are way more important than I thought they were.
Okay, like that. Okay. Yes.
Her and I met this week at a meeting about how to grab all my, get my ideas together. So I have an idea and I wanted to share it out with everybody, but I have a QR code that is hooked to a Google Doc that is just a quick survey to give me their name.
Perfect. Love it. Love it. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's ways to extract information out of people. How do we get this information? And by the way, don't overthink it. It's not that hard. Okay. Most of the time, if you're texting somebody, you just go, hey, I'm changing database systems. Somehow my previous one crashed and I am missing your current address. Help me, or I'm missing your husband's mobile number. Doesn't matter, whatever it is, right? You're going to get a response almost every single time. So don't overthink it. Keep it simple. What other ahas going through the process? Tom.
I think very nice that it's going through a database of about 300 people. That is a pretty solid 300. There's not a lot of fluff inside.
That's great.
Maybe a few real estate agents. But, and then taking each of those individuals one by one and then discussing that person as to what potential they have of being a client. First of all, it revealed that we have a lot of people in our database that have a right place, right time, right? Have a high potential of being a client of ours.
By all means, yeah.
So, but also, going through is we did things like, okay, so let's talk about them, and I was using this in mastermind. Now let's elevate. Do they have kids? Do they have parents? Do they have this? And gathering more information about, they're our age and their parents are still alive. What is the probability of them needing to move? So really going to the top 40, we started out with the criteria of influence, right? Like you talked about.
Right.
Okay, who are the people that can send us multiple pieces of business? Or who can we develop a relationship with that's reciprocal? I send you business, you send me business.
Fair, isn't it? Yeah.
So that's what it was. But now that list isn't as big as I was hoping it would be. But as we got further into the list, we saw a lot of potential business there.
Yeah.
That maybe if we weren't looking at it underneath of a microscope, we wouldn't have seen.
Yeah. Just we talked about this at team meeting. Just the exercise alone, there's value in it. There's a lot of aha moments. Yeah.
So back in fall of 23, Tom and I worked on cleaning up that database, and we were coding people 1, 2, 3, or 4. 4 being, yeah, we know they're going to be giving us business, raving fans. I think a lot of people were 3. Yeah, we're really good friends with them. We matched that against our top 40 list, and it was pretty accurate. But what we found was we kind of have 2 categories. Top 40 cultivate, like let's strengthen that, and top 40 we know they're going to refer us no matter what.
Okay.
We have like 5. Oh, they're going to use us no matter what. Like friends from high school we see all
Sure.
the time. But the rest of that category, those 3, that's where we need to strengthen those relationships. That's where we need to continue to cultivate it and really focus on it this year.
We're going to talk about that.
We just categorized it and never really did anything with it.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great, ahas. Who else? I don't want to miss somebody. Yes, sure. Okay.
I think in the process, I realized that a lot of my people were all in the same group and that I wanted to maybe highlight other areas. I have contacts in Prairie Village, over Parkley Summit, and not all be in one place. So maybe leave some room and really try to bring people that may not have I thought were in my top 40, but create them into my top 40.
Yeah.
And go, wow, you've shown up again.
Right.
But I just felt it was important to me to try to think outside the same sphere of people.
I love
I
that.
think that
It kind of broadens your view, your horizon a little bit.
Right.
I like that. Cool. Caesar?
I just realized that I'm a horrible friend, honestly. And I'm growing, so if you're trying to befriend me, I will be your friend. I'm 49 years old.
Yeah.
I just learned a lot, but just going through that list, just thinking of some of the last conversations that I've had.
Yeah.
People hearing about me and then honestly not reciprocating it, but for busyness or whatever, but just I'm a horrible friend. I just realized simple conversation.
You know what? If they're friends, you get to get right back in the saddle with them, but it won't happen unless you get it started. And sometimes that initial touch and conversation is a little frightful. It's a little bumpy, and that's why we don't make it. We don't know what to say. We're a little embarrassed, to be perfectly honest with you. We got to get past that. Okay. You guys are in a 100% commission field. The people that can get past that make a buttload of money. The people that don't will always never know how much they're going to make. Okay. Pick which group you want to be in. It's that simple. So I'm going to have a few direct comments like that today, just because I'm sick of jacking around. If somebody's a $20 million agent or a $10 million agent, and it's Ryan Finn, and somebody else is a 1 million or 2 million, I can tell you right now, his database and the top of his database is better than that person's. That's the biggest difference. You could say some person's more experienced, more talented, more contacts. His database is better than the other person. That's how this works, okay? So we're going to make this our focus. There's not a person in this room that if they don't start down this journey, we can't sit here in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and 12 months and see progress. Okay, a lot of you guys made progress just because you were forced to do some of this exercise in the last 45 days. If we continue to make that progress in this initiative that we're doing, we have the ability to move the needle massively for people's business. Not to mention, there's a lot of you guys that have a good business, but it porpoises in the water like a cork on the water because you never know where it's coming from. Okay. Oh, the phone hasn't rang in a while. I'm waiting for it to ring. We're going to figure out how to make it ring. We're going to make it a little bit more predictable, a little bit more sustainable. So back to one of our basic foundational things, and you guys will see me pull this out all the time, and I'll refer to it no less than 100 times today. Excuse me. Is we've got to remember how we always talk about the 200. Okay, my goal is to have 200 people in your database. Today's focus will be that 40 predominantly, but keep in mind it's the whole triangle. Today's focus is the top of the triangle. You guys get that? We're going to call them our VIPs, whatever you want to call it. These are the people that have one of the 40 seats on your bus. Does that make sense? They're VIPs, man. When VIPs go to a ball game, guess where they sit? They're in the suites, right? They're in box seats, that kind of thing. These are your VIPs. They're not sitting at the top of the stadium, right? These are the people that get treated a little bit differently. So what we're trying to accomplish with it, first of all, why in the heck would we do this? Let's go down that path just to hit it one more time. When you have enough people in your world that think the world of you and think of you first for real estate, your phone will ring and you will have business and make money with almost doing nothing other than just maintaining those relationships. Okay. I spent my first 8 years, I was rookie of the year, all that kind of stuff. Coldwell Banker ran up to a $15 million business like that. I wasn't surrounded by one person that told me to cultivate these people in any way, shape, or form. So 8.5 years of business, really, those relationships for the most part are gone in my world. I look back and I'm like, what in the world? How much would that be worth today? The longer these relationships are in place, if treated properly, the more seasoned they get, the stronger they get, and then the more business they produce for you guys. You see how that works? So this doesn't happen automatically, but if you don't start it and go ground floor with it, it will never happen. Then all of a sudden you have these people and you're loving all over them for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years. Now all of a sudden you're cooking with gas. And all of a sudden, wow, these people referring me business. Oh my gosh, they're calling me to ask who would be a great plumber that we need a plumber for. You become their resource. We're going to go into a lot of those kind of examples here in a second. So the whole reason we do this is we want something that's sustainable and slightly predictable. I can't tell you what interest rates are going to do. Can you tell me? Okay, nobody, Sandy, we don't know, right? We've seen them go up, we've seen them go down. I can give a crap less about interest rates, to be perfectly honest with you. We know we're going to have a certain amount of business coming in because of the foundational things that we've done in our business over an extended period of time. The one thing I can't change for is the extended period of time part, okay? If this is year one of you making this initiative work for you, then this is year one. For me, I came here in 2009, 2011, started getting more into the system. So I'm in year maybe 13 or 14 of understanding that the key to making big money in real estate is cultivating the right people, okay? And by the way, these are all, for the most part, these are people that are already in your world to some extent. We just have to advance the relationship. So if you would like to, there's nobody in here I don't think that has a real estate salary. Does anybody have a salary that I don't know about? Okay, right? Nobody? Ryan, what's your salary? Yeah. If those signs don't go up, that check's not going to be written for very long. We'll put it that way. So if you want to have something that feels more like a base salary, you master what we're talking about today, and that will create something that's sustainable and predictable. One of the biggest challenges for a lot of you guys, you've come from the corporate world. Chris, you came from where's Chris? I miss Chris Bradley. Hi, Chris. A lot of us had jobs at some point, 40-hour-week jobs and all that kind of stuff. And if nothing else, you might have hated your job and hated your boss and couldn't stand the place, but you knew if you went to work, you were getting a check, right? For the most part. This is the opposite of that. Sorry about that, but this has a much higher upside. Okay. There's a trade-off. Okay. For me, I've never had a job. I worked at Hardee's when I was 18. Other than that, I've never had a job. I've only been self-employed or 100% commission. So I don't really know the whole thing about getting a steady check. But when you don't know any better, you just kind of go with it, right? You're like, oh, I made zero this month. Awesome. So that can happen in our world, but predictable and sustainable is where we're trying to go with this. And then this whole initiative that we're doing ends up being kind of the foundation for making that happen. Okay. This will not be, this is really simple. I can't tell you how simple it is, guys. I mean, you saw what I just handed. This thing is worth multiple six figures per year for me. Okay. It's not brain surgery, but it wasn't easy. And it took multiple years to develop. Everybody's at some stage in this from the very early onset. I know Caesar and I are working. He's got more influence and contacts than just about anybody I've ever met. That's saying something. Now pretty much. Now we have to convert those people into thinking of looking at you and your family as their resource for real estate versus the other resources that you've been for people for so many years. So personally, the fact you have that influence on the people, that's going to be really, really a factor. I'd rather have that than almost anything. Credibility and influence are really, really important. So predictable, stable. We want to know what's going to happen in our world versus just seeing what's going to happen. You guys, I get to see your checks, and even our top agents, it's not uncommon to see them have this amazing month where their GCI was 20, 30, 40,000 bucks, followed up by a zero, followed up by another zero. And then we're back to 25 or 35 again. Okay. And these are people doing it at a high level. All right. Has anybody experienced that, or is it just me? Okay. Yeah, I get to see your checks, so I already know. If you don't want to raise your hand today, then don't raise your hand. But we get it. Yeah. It's part of what we do here, to be perfectly honest with you. So the aha in all this is this will be, in my opinion, and we're not telling people, hey, don't do open houses anymore, don't do a knock, don't do whatever activities you have going. We'll go into some of those in a second. But we're not saying that at all. But this is priority one. Okay, this is the relatively easy button compared to everything else. And all those other activities that we're getting ready to go into. Who does open houses? About half of you guys probably. Yeah, open houses, right? Door knocking. Anybody here for door knocking? Yeah, good day for it, right? All the activities that we do are to funnel these people into this world. You guys get that? Into your database. If they're legit, we get them in the database. Then we cultivate, love. And all of a sudden, they end up in your top 40 somehow, okay? Because they're referring you business, you sold their house, that sort of thing. So all those activities, that's what feeds this engine. You guys get that? That's what happens. Of my people here, these people just didn't arrive into my world. Somehow something happened, some trigger happened. Oh, by the way, this guy right here just referred me a $1.2 million house. You think I like him? He's not buying a beer around me for a while, right? So those are the people that we have to figure out how to cultivate and how to identify and so on and so forth. But you've got these seats on your bus, so to speak, and that's what we're focusing on predominantly today. Now, well, the path that I'm going to go down with this is very simple. You guys have seen me talk about if I have a database of 200, again, our primary focus is this, but there are certain people in this 200 that are more on the peripheral, we'll say. I don't have that close a relationship, but I have a relationship, okay? And over time, as we go gas pedal down with this initiative, what happens is the more contacts, the more touches, the more they see your success, the more you bring value to them and check in on them and care about them. What ends up happening is they build trust with you. You get more confidence with them and them with you. You have more credibility to them in their world. You guys get that? And these people will go from the bottom of your database to the top of the triangle. You guys, does that make sense? Okay. Now that's called cultivating. That's getting them into your world and then graduating them into this really special group. And if we get too many people in that group, we don't have to kick people out. We just expand it. Now it's 40, now it's 50, now it's 60. You guys get that? By the way, the bigger it is, the more powerful it can become. With that is there's this funky thing that happens that you guys are realtors. At real estate school, when you pass a test, the thing they always forget to tell you is you've got to learn not to be scared of the phone. Okay. The phone is your friend and not your enemy. Ryan Finn didn't know what the hell to do when he got here, but he wasn't afraid of the phone. And thank goodness, right? I mean, yeah, if people hung up on him, he's like, right, next, he's just bulletproof. Well, and failure wasn't an option, which is really, the fact is you couldn't afford to do it any other way, right? The biggest challenge in real estate is we got to get past that. We got to be self-starters, skin our knee, and so on and so forth. You heard me say that a million times. But what happens is these people that are on your peripheral, and you guys, as you do this exercise and have done this exercise, you probably had a lot of these moments where, gosh, I haven't talked to them in a long time. So your ease of communication and frequency of communication is not great. Okay. Does that happen to anybody or just me? Okay. Those people are not, they will not be in your top 40 until you change that, okay? They'll never produce at a high level to create a lot of money for you. You may get the occasional referral from those kind of people, but we're going to change that by being just purposeful, systematic, and intentional about it. Once you get that ease of communication, you break that ice. Marcia talks to somebody that's a friend of hers that she hasn't seen in a while. She has that first call. And she's like, oh my gosh, that went really well. Hey, I'll check back in with you in a couple months if I can help you with anything, yada, yada, yada. Her ease of communication started here and it's improving. You guys get that? And as she touches base with them periodically, it gets smoother and smoother and smoother. And then it's like, I'm just looking at my notes from my last conversation to see what we talked about last time. And Marcia's friend, oh, their daughter started at William Jewell. What a great thing. Hey, how's Jenny doing at William Jewell? What a great icebreaker for your next conversation. You guys get that? So the ease of communication is the key here because you guys are all scared of the damn phone. Okay, sorry about that. And I'm kind of scared of it too at times. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But the reality is if we get more comfortable, we have the chance of making this a very powerful group and one that it's just easy to call and text and shake hands with at the grocery store and things like that. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Has anybody had any relationships in the last year or two where you've communicated enough times where you've kind of went from maybe a little bumpy to pretty smooth? Give me an example. Who's had that happen? Nobody? Just me? Gotcha.
I wasn't sure if I should call him or not, but we served on on trustees together, and there was I had a rocky exit, and he was the chair, and so I just decided to reach out to him, and it went, the initial one was kind of mediocre, but the next one was a B, and then the following one was an A.
And once it gets to an A, it should be A the rest of the way. It'd be pretty comfortable. And when that person pops up as this is somebody I need to talk to this week, you're like, oh, cool. And I'm looking at my notes as to where we left off last time. Great place to start, by the way. So that will, by the way, this is exactly what happens when people build these databases and they identify their 200 people and they really are looking for the cream of the crop. The cream of the crop has to be developed over time. It's for some of you, you're going to have very few people that truly deserve to be in your top 40. Okay. And that's only because you haven't had time to do the work on them. Okay. You haven't built the relationship. I would like to think all of us have really close friends, close family, those of you in real estate, people that you've conducted business with, at a high level that deserve and are currently in your kind of top 40. Most of you guys have a few people that are been in the business, I hope, right? Every week, every month, you're adding people to that. So, and when you all of a sudden go on a listing presentation and people hire you and they love you and you love them, hey, boom, they're in my top 40 right now. Okay, that's how I'm looking at it. These are people that I'm hanging on to, and I'm going to have the rest of my career if I do the work. Okay. By the way, if you don't do the work, we'll talk about that in a second too. Somebody else will do the work. Okay. So you sold them a house, Shelby, and they loved you during the process. Guess what happened? Their kid decided to play soccer, and they're playing soccer with Joe's kid, blah, 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 blah. And they liked you just fine. But Joe's there now, right? Okay. 50-50 on who's going to get the call, who's going to get the business. Okay. So we have to keep ourselves front of mind. And again, I'm going to do more of a deep dive there. As we graduate and we improve in communication and we gain trust, confidence, and credibility, this becomes a more personal relationship versus transactional or business. Okay. By the way, if you're asking them about their kids and their parents' health and things like that, that's a little more personal, right? And sometimes you go down some rabbit holes that aren't all that much fun, right? My dad's in bad shape. We're going through those all the time right now. But that's part of this. Okay. If we want to build those relationships, we have to be willing to peel back a layer or two and honestly share things that are going on in our world. That's a two-way street if it's going to become personal. You guys get that? Now, the example I gave you was Shelby sold him a house, but Joe might get the next piece of business because of, being a soccer coach or whatever that is. If Shelby really has that personal relationship, they're going to love Joe too, but they would never do business with anybody but Shelby. Okay. The personal thing, she knocked it out of the park, and she's consistently there for them. You guys get that? This is really, really important. Caesar, in his world, he has a massive amount of credibility with people. He just has to be able to convert that on a personal basis to now the resource for real estate and professional advice versus the resource that he's been for so many years. I'm sorry, I keep using you, man. So we good? All right. Tell me to stop at any point. I've never sat in the front row. You guys know that. So let's talk about this is my favorite thing to talk about in this whole thing, which is what I call the top of mind or 1 in 5 analogy. Is that a word? Yeah, let's go with that. Belton High School showing up again. Okay. No, it's not the first time. So here's what happens. And Devon and I talked about this yesterday. Most of us as real estate agents, we have some people in our world, we have some people in our database, and that's all cool. And those people, let's just say they have 5 agents, like the example, but 5 agents that they all kind of like, they're cool, right? Five different agents. If all 5 of those are doing the same thing, which is literally, honestly, in our world, almost nothing. Agents do almost nothing. I like their Facebook, something like that. It's crap. Then they have, in theory, a 1 in 5 chance of earning the business. Okay. If there's 5 agents that are all thought about the same by a family, you have a 1 in 5 chance of being picked, 20%. Okay. If you'll get started what we're talking about, and by the way, most people in your database, no matter how much they love you, they have other realtors in the world. Sorry about that. And if their kid gets in real estate, you're out. That's how it works too. Trust me. By the way, there's 3 people sitting here that were in my database and I made a crap ton of money off of. Tom O'Connor. Who else? Well, there's a couple more. Where are they? Teresa here?
Yeah, Teresa's not here.
Yeah, she cost me a lot. So, Jake, no, we didn't do business. But my point is it constantly ebbs and flows a little bit. It's just part of it. But here's the deal. Of our 40 seats on the bus, 1 in 5 of these, they got 5 people to pick from. Why are they going to pick me? The person that's doing the work changes that analogy completely. And so all of a sudden in the last year, that person has had Marcia touching base with them, offering value, checking in on them, sending them handwritten note cards. We're going to go through a lot of the things you can do. Guess what ends up happening? Her chances aren't 1 in 5 anymore. They're 3 in 5, okay? Or 4 in 5, 4 out of 5. So 20%, 3 out of 5. Anybody want to do the math? Ryan, 60%? We're good? Good, thank you. So all of a sudden, yeah, 20% goes to 60% just because of a little consistent effort, time on task. You guys get that? So most, by the way, our industry as a whole, the cool thing is most people are doing nothing. Okay. We're the most highly trained organization that there is out there, and we still don't do enough. Okay. We've proven that with this whole exercise, to be perfectly honest with you. So the rest of people are almost doing nothing. Okay. So if you're in a database of 5 other people, chances are you're doing more than the other people anyway. Okay. So we have an excellent chance to move up the priority list as far as the percentage chance of getting hired. Okay. To the point where they may have 5 people. I mean, I know people in my database that are, I've done 10 deals with some of these people. Okay. And if they don't list their house with me, I might just shoot myself. Okay. It's just like, oh my gosh. And it does still happen once in a while. But I'm probably a 90% chance of getting hired with some of those people. You got it? 95% chance because of the relationship over all those years and things like that. So it's not easy to be that way, but I can tell you, if you're doing the work and the things we're going to be talking about and the activities, you now become front of mind, top of mind. You guys get that? Give me an aha or two just about top of mind, being top of mind to people in their world. Give me some examples. Anybody had that happen to them? You can think of. Joe, give me one. Isn't that something? That's just amazing. Chris, yeah.
Do that stuff and door knock, right?
Same.
And I had a guy call me yesterday, or Monday, and said, hey, he bought a house in Alexander Creek, and he, 6.5 years ago, and I've just stayed in touch with him and his wife, and he called me and said, hey, would you come look at my house? And I said, of course. I mean, that's an easy way to do it, but I've just stayed in touch with him over the years, and I didn't write him off, even though they're elderly, and I kind of thought, well, maybe, but I just didn't write him off, and I'm thinking, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's real estate 101, guys. Yes, Trish.
This thing of the help of the house and a couple of papers. I asked if they had, I think we have several. Those are answered because we have a lot of people that's sending us stuff on a regular basis. Cause they have moved from out of state.
Yep.
So they've been online. So they said, well, I think we have several, blah, blah. And I said, I get that. Do you care if you give me a week to show you what it looks like to have a full-time professional work for you?
Right.
So after a week, they signed their agency agreement with me and we're looking at property. But it happened when it was getting ready to snow and I sent the lady a link on the closest place to get snow clothes for her 13-year-old. And she said to me, I love that you care about all of us. And she said, send your agreement over. So I know that what it was that I showed her where to buy snow clothes, but it was a simple thing.
You never know what's going to push it across the line, right? You just never know what that might be. It's just, this is, again, you took it personal. You made it personal. You totally went a different way. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon.
I'm just gonna say, I know a lot of us have spheres that overlap, or we're small town, and we all have, a lot of us have overlaps, right? The worst feeling is when you see on Facebook, somebody going, congrats to my client on their clothes, and you're like, I thought they were my clients, I thought they were my friends, like, I thought we were good. But realizing you can't just think you're good, because you're good in your mind, but, every now and then I'll see, and I have family in the business too. And so you think, hey, I got that person locked down, but you can never assume that you do. Like you say, somebody can just swoop in right at the, right time.
Yeah.
Right time for them, wrong time for me. But,
Your bus will change over time. It ebbs and flows. In other words, what Brandy's saying is if she had her top 40 and she saw somebody that was definitely in the top 40 and she found out real quick, they're no longer in the top 40, right? It happens to me all the time. I have a pretty large group, so a lot of people don't hire me. I mean, we're excited about the ones that do, but the reality is every listing, by the way, that comes on in Cass County, I click the thing to see what the name of the seller. Okay. I have no life, by the way. So But I want to know. I want to know if that's a kid of one of my people. That matters too, right? Going through this exercise, I just happened to touch base with Gary Henney, who lives down the road here. We built him a house in 2004, I think, or something. And then his daughter went through some tough times. We helped her find a house. He paid for it, all those kind of things. And he just goes, you know what? I am sick of being the mortgage holder on this thing. Get me out of this. And I go, sure, I can do that. But your daughter, does she need a bigger house? Yep. So just our conversation led to call my daughter, figure out what the house will sell for, and let's go find her another one. Okay, cool. There's two pieces of business that'll happen in the first quarter. Just by, again, getting in these conversations. And this is a guy that I probably talk to once a year. Okay, I see him all over the place, but I really have a conversation with once a year. Yeah, Ryan?
That sparked just kind of an idea in my head. Capitalize off what Brandy said, when you see somebody on Facebook, you know, that bought a house and did not teach you. Take your top 40 and go on Facebook and see who they're friends with and see how many realtors they're friends with, because they're going to be, don't be offended, they're going to be, because they're highly influential people that have the ability to refer business at a high level. Fantastic, but just see who your competition is. That's a great idea, but then that also lets you know you probably ought to up your game in what we're doing here today. So this is a great exercise that we're doing, but it's also good to see who your competition is out there.
It is.
Outperform.
And the good news is, and let's say they know 10 agents, okay? The good news is probably 7 or 8 of them do almost nothing, right? They're Facebook friends. Yeah, the bar is really low. So stand out, do something to stand out, make it more personal, be more intentional, make the communication easier and easier as time goes on, and you will graduate to the top, the cream of the crop of their sphere of realtors.
I've seen my career. Once I do get into my database, I start finding those things, and you will. And so I always send them a congratulations card on their new purchase.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't the one, and I've gotten 3 people back.
Who has the stones to do that? Sandy, you one up me on that one. That's a good one.
They don't like the agent they had.
More often than not, they didn't have a great experience. You set a bar here. Chances are they didn't get to that bar. I bet almost anything.
Hey, I got one that goes on great with your 1 and 5 analogy, and and Ryan can attest to this, and so can Carrie and Aaron. So we have the Belton Chamber of Commerce, right? I get into real estate and I show up to like the first morning coffee thing, and there's 40 people there and 12 of them are real estate agents, right? So it's like, all right, whatever. And now the good thing is half of them are from our office. But essentially, at least.
Really?
So-
Okay.
So here's what kind of has happened over that 4-year period is it's kind of down to half of that, and it's still everybody in our office, but because of us being with Keller Williams, and when we are in conversation at chamber meetings, we are raising the level of those conversations. So you talk about how do we separate ourselves? We got, somebody knows 5 agents, 5 real estate agents. I want to be the real estate professional. And I want to be the real estate agent that knows that can solve problems a little bit beyond the real estate realm, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to look in there when I'm having a conversation with somebody is how can I help them? And that may not be how can I help them sell their real estate, maybe how can I help them solve a problem?
Yeah.
Right? That maybe is not necessarily related to real estate. Hey, but I've been on the planet for a long time and I've experienced a bunch of different stuff and I have a lot of connections.
Yeah.
Right? So I use that as an advantage to do it. And then the other thing that I've said before, and this is part of the training I get through the Keller Williams Real Estate Planner, is when we can start having higher level conversations about what stuff looks like if a property's in probate. How are taxes calculated? We can start having higher conversations about, what is it? This one's been happening a lot for me. Stopping people from adding people to the deed of the house. Because mom and dad are old and I want my sister to have it, so I'm gonna put her on the deed. No, you don't do that. There's the right way to do that. So once you can raise that level of conversation you have with people, you are no longer just a real estate agent.
Yeah.
You're a professional.
Yeah.
And once you go there, they look at you differently. And that's how we separate ourselves from the 5 other real estate agents.
You bet. You bet. Well, and everybody's, I haven't sold that many houses and they're worried that they can't differentiate because they don't have the experience or the numbers or any of that kind of stuff. Bull crap. The personal relationship wins out almost every single time. I lose more business to agents that have yet to sell a house or selling their first or second house. I lose business all the time that way. Okay. And I think I'm pretty good at this thing, right? Because those people have a stronger personal relationship with the people than I do. And they're willing to hope it all goes well versus work with us and have a really high probability of it going well. Does that make sense? They're winning the personal battle. So here's kind of what happens. You guys have, as we get this database of people, not everybody we're communicating with will graduate and move forward. Okay. If you guys ever had that where you just don't click with somebody, you know, you're like, man, I'm doing all the things that work on most people, but this family or these people just kind of were stuck in the mud a little bit. Just know that, don't get hung up on that. That will happen. You will have people that are just going to stay kind of on the peripheral. They'll never graduate into your true VIP. Okay. Has that ever happened to anybody? Okay. It does happen, by the way. You will have people in your VIPs that are still kind of in your world, but they kind of slide the other way too. I have people that didn't do business with me this last time, but like Sandy, I'm not going to let them totally go away, right? I'm not going to give up totally on them. So I still want them in my world. Maybe if I do my job, or if the previous agent didn't do theirs, maybe we get them right back into our world. I've seen people ping pong agents. Yeah, there's one investor that has worked with 2 or 3 people here in the office, and not to mention Reese Nichols and everything else. So they will bounce around a little bit. So we've got to be top of mind, and we've got to be intentional to make that happen. Statistically, in this beautiful handwriting, if I had 200 people in my database, and let's just assume for a second, they all either transacted business or gave out 1 referral. Okay. If I get picked 20% of the time, there's 40 conversations that I'm going to be in. Not bad, right? Converted half of those. Woohoo. That's not bad. What if it was 40? What if it was 60% like we're talking about? I'm going to become more top of mind than just one of the 5 agents. You guys get that? Then all of a sudden we get into 120 powerful conversations. You guys get the difference? By the way, that's triple if you want to do the math real quick. Triple, okay? By the way, that's how people's business goes from 100K to 300K. Stuff like that. It X's, it 2X's, it 3X's, and things like that. So top of mind is really, really important. Now, sorry about this, but we're still in an industry where people are coming into this industry because they look at it as a lucrative industry, which it is. We just went through 3 years in a row of kind of a pullback in our industry, yet people are still wanting to get in. Reason being, there's still a lot of money, and there's a lot of people not doing this at a high level. So there's always opportunity. But if you will just figure out how to get top of mind, you guys can take this as deep as you want with this business. Not everybody, again, will graduate into this top 40 for you. So just don't worry about that. Keep the relationships going, but really, really focus on where you're moving the ball down the field. Anybody have anything to add to any of that kind of stuff? Kind of makes sense. I'm going to refer back to this no less than 10 times. Any other ahas? Anybody got anything? This is, you can share. Feel free. Anybody? Yes.
Slide back and forth and you connect with everybody. We don't want to let people go unintentionally, but I feel like it's okay to let some of those people go that you don't connect with.
Yeah.
Because you're struggling so hard. But by letting that person go, they're going to find somebody that they do connect with, and that opens up a space for you to fill with someone who you do connect with.
Yeah.
Who you have that ease going on with.
Yeah. Because if it's time to call that person and you're like, oh man, I'm dreading this call, I'll tell you right now, you guys won't make the call. Or you'll go, I'll just text them. I'll just email them. I'll send them a card. All good stuff. But as we're getting ready to talk about, the conversation is the key. That's the secret sauce. No question about it. Yeah, Sam.
But never really connecting with them, but letting them know you're there if they ever have a real estate need. They will.
Yeah.
They will end up calling you if they do.
Yeah.
They're just that kind. They're not one to go, oh, okay, let me call her. They don't. But
Yeah.
then when they do have a need, they do.
Guys, here's the thing. Be careful what you ask for, because as we build these relationships and easy communication, you become this resource. It can get a little overwhelming, right? Yeah. My wife gets calls constantly. Who do you use for this travel thing you went on, or whatever, right? Who's your exterminator, right? It's a carpet guy. A carpet guy is getting rich off us, right? He's not sending me any deals, I might add. Tom was the carpet guy, but always got me this great bottle of whiskey or wine, so it's fantastic. But that's this business. I mean, it kind of is what it is. So let's talk about this. First of all, Gary Keller, you guys might have heard of him, kind of really the linchpin person in our industry. He kind of says, has anybody ever heard him talk in person by any chance? You guys?
Yeah.
Okay. He doesn't beat around the bush a lot. He basically comes out and just says, what we're talking about here, this is actually your job. Okay. You guys came from jobs. Okay. Where you went in at 9, you left at 5, you took an hour for lunch or whatever that looked like, time clock, whatever that thing is. I've never had a job, so I'm kind of just winging it here. But you guys came from that world, and now this is your job. Okay. This is your first job. Everything else that you're doing every day is not first. This building a database, managing it, and the things we're talking about today, that is actually your job. Okay. The difference is if you don't show up, Brandy's not going to call you and go, you didn't show up for work today. Okay. Doesn't work that way. That's why the failure rate in real estate is so high. If accountability is low, people don't want to be held accountable, by the way. You guys don't want to trust me. I lob out a lot of invites for meetings and don't get responses. It's cool. But we don't, it's tough to be held accountable. So you got into real estate so you didn't have to have a 9 to 5, right? Be damn if you're going to hold me accountable, Branson. Okay. Yet you're telling me you want to have a 6-figure and above business, which is it going to be? We got to do the work. So this, what we're talking about today, foundation, this is our job. This is the building a business. You also got to look at that. You're self-employed. You own this thing now. This is your business. I built this thing and this is what I own now. Okay. And if I retired in 5 years, this is what I have to sell is these relationships, this database, and it's worth a lot. Chances are somebody would pay me a lot of money for it. They should, right? Wouldn't you? Would you got to pay? If we knew it was going to spit out 50 transactions, would somebody be willing to write a check for that if they had it? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's start bidding. Hi, bidder. Ryan, lead us off. But really, in fact, there's this thing in real estate that is exactly that. It's called the golden handoff, and it's simply people building something, and instead of just dying or quitting, they actually have something worth passing on or selling. Okay, you monetize all your hard work in real estate. Bill Benson was the top agent in Raymore forever, and he was my mentor in 2001. He built this massive business, made millions of dollars. He was just liquid. But when he quit, he was done. There was nothing to hand off. None of this work had been done. Instead, if he had even any kind of setup, he could have handed it to a young enterprising businessman that I know, me, that would have said, Bill, let me pay you X, or let me pay you a certain amount on every transaction for eternity. And even though you don't need the money, then let's put it towards your grandkids in their college, or let's put it towards a charitable endeavor, or let's put it to the school district. He was a little bit, we could have done so many fun things. Instead, he got out of the business and unfortunately passed away really quickly, and it ended up being a goose egg. So 40 years of work ends up being a goose egg at the finish line? No way. No way. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so build. We got to constantly be finding the people that come into this world. This is a weed and feed program. People will come out of this thing. They'll go into this thing. I have somebody text me this morning. I just hit me that I had talked to these people during the holidays, and I haven't even put them in my database at all yet. Okay, they don't deserve to be in my top 40, but they're not even in there yet. So I'm sitting there going, crap, I can't do this thing today. I got to go do that. But so we're building. We're maintaining. We're checking in on these databases to have them perform for us. So we constantly have to assess that. Very, very important. And the flow of people that we're talking about is real. People are going to flow in. It's going to be really exciting. And there will be some that will flow out. So it is a move up. It is a move down, and it is a move out. Okay. You have all of those things happening in your new job. Okay. By the way, we have a job now. Okay. We're going to leave one thing today, the one aha, I got a job. Okay. Brandy. Okay. So what now we got to find out what hours they want to work, right? Okay. Wouldn't it be different though if we had to do that? What if you got in real estate and you had to be in an office for even just 3 or 4 hours a day? First of all, you guys would all quit immediately for the most part, or you wouldn't have. Who wouldn't have got in? I guarantee if there was a rule with the state of Missouri that says you have to be in the brokerage's office, 3 or 4 hours a day for your first 6 months, would you guys have still got in? Would you? Yeah. Chris, you would have, because you were used to working 9 to 5. You're like, hey, this is way better than that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can overdo it. We always have good food, right? Yeah. So you can't overdo it, but no, the point is, if we were forced to do something, the fallout rate in our industry would be dramatically different. It just would. Okay. Because I can't track you guys down. I haven't seen Jake in a few days. I haven't seen Nate in a few days. These guys, when I see them, it reminds me, hey, I haven't seen them in a while, right? But no one's going and checking in on them. Okay. Yeah. Right. So yeah, very much so. Very much so. Okay, so let's talk about, we talked a little bit about the ebb and flow, these people kind of, and this being our job. Let's talk a little bit about the who. Who are these people that are in our world? Somebody asked me, and I don't remember who it was, I think it was Jake, but I could be wrong, but how do you prioritize the people that are, we'll just say most important? And if I had to go with one word, it would be who's most influential. Okay. People that are influential have the ability to move the needle in your world the fastest. Okay. Now, you never know who's going to be influential. By the way, if you're younger, a lot of your friends and people in your world, they're not influential yet, right? Some are, but most of them aren't. Sorry about that. But they may be in 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years. Okay. So you never know. But when I first met Matt Davidson, you should have seen it. He was a little bit skinny guy. He didn't know shit from Shinola. He was the new guy in State Farm. All that kind of, now he owns this big business and he's a partner in this building and all kinds of other stuff. So he wasn't influential maybe then. Now he's a big guy in State Farm, largest real estate company in the world, right? So you never know who the influencer is. Family and friends, I'm assuming your databases, do you guys have a lot of family and friends in there? Okay. That should be really foundational. So within your family and friends, not all your family are going to be as influential as others, right? It's just how it works. And your friends are the same way. Just because somebody is your close friend doesn't mean they'll ever get to this point, believe it or not, because they're not influential. Okay. That's just sometimes how my good friend Larry, I talk about Larry all the time. He's just the greatest guy in the world, but he's never sent me a piece of business that I can remember. He probably has because I've known him for so long, but he would never be in he would never make this sheet. Does that make sense? I would love for him to, but he's just not influential. He doesn't care to be. He lives his life footloose and fancy free. That's pretty cool. But I had a former client that was a superintendent of schools. Okay. You think that's an influential person? Interviewing teachers and administrators coming into the district. Is that a good person to know? That's influential. Okay. Unfortunately, when Teresa decided to become a real estate agent, I lost my contact with the Belton School District. Very expensive, I might add. So again, they ebb and flow, right? We talked a little bit about that. Coworkers, former coworkers. Okay. Same thing there. You should have a personal relationship with them. What about neighbors? I mean, your neighbors. Some of us like our neighbors. Some of us can't stand our neighbors, but we probably have some good relationships there. Where else are you guys? Why are you guys laughing? Tell me a joke. Tell me a joke. I want to hear something good. Okay, nothing. All right. So where do we find the people that there's a million things out there. By the way, Brandy's going to be teaching a class on 36 Touch, which is, hey, we got these people. How do we communicate with them? We'll touch on some of that today, but the bottom line is we had a whole nother training on that. But at the end of the day, where do we find these people so I don't miss anybody? The first thing, back to your phone. Most of the people that are going to be certainly here better be in your damn phone. Okay. And probably anybody in your database should be in your phone also. So this is a great place to start. It always is. Then I'm also going to look really closely at social media. I mean, I don't know if you guys are Facebook people. That's the only social media I'm involved in. I don't think there's anybody in my world that's not in if they're on Facebook, right? And I would say 90% of them are at some capacity. So, scour through the phone and your social media and see who gets collected into this thing called your database. Okay. Has anybody done that? No? Anybody still need to do it? Sandy. Well, she's new. She's new. Yeah. 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 How many times about once or twice a year, you come up to me and go, you're not going to believe this. I was kind of looking through my database and I decided to finally call this gal and she had moved. Right? Yeah. See, you win. But the reality is sometimes people can fall through the cracks a little bit. And it's bizarre if we don't have a system in place to be sure they're captured, cultivated, and constantly communicated with. Again, you guys get to decide what your database is going to be worth to you. If you want to put 200 people together and have your top 40 and all that and not do the activities around it, it's not going to produce any of the results that you're hoping to get out of it. If you'll do activities around it, I promise you over time, it will pay off. And if you really focus on it and crush it, and some of the things we're going to talk about here in a second, you have something that could be worth a ton of money for a ton of years. Okay. You know what my biggest hurdle was in lead generation is having to just even go on the computer and get into command. Okay, I'm not tech savvy. You guys might not know that. But even just stupid things like that. What'll happen is I'll get on my computer. Next thing I know, I'm checking my stocks and my fantasy football team, right? Better check right. What's the weather for the Chiefs game Saturday? Real important stuff versus making a commission that might average $8,000 or $9,000 per phone call. but that's what happens. So for this whole exercise, I wanted to dummy it down to the Branson style of doing things, where I wanted to just have something in front of me at all times. If I want to take this home, if I want to have this in my car, if I want to have it on my desk, that's what works for me. Doesn't mean you guys have to do it that way. But if you're not doing it the other way, you might want to think differently about this. Have something in front of you reminding you that you have a job. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
There's some studies and type stuff in, and there's a certain benefit to that, but actually you kinetically, actively, physically, actively writing it down and seeing what you are creating with your hand imprints in your brain differently.
So that's fact. Absolute fact. Yep.
And you were asking about where do we get these people? Like if you go through Bold is 6 weeks. They ask you to contact 100 people a week. That's 600 people.
Right.
While you're in Bold. How many of us know 600 people? Usually half of us are done halfway through the first week. Like I've called all 50 people I know. You know, so it's about also getting in front of new people, finding ways to get in front of new people. Whether you join the chamber, if you're doing open houses, maybe you door knock, maybe you join a volunteer organization. Maybe, you know, it's always about looking for new ways to feed people into the funnel too. Yeah.
Well, I must do pretty good because these people call me about their water heater and like, do you know what the code is for that?
Yeah.
All kinds of.
Yeah, if we want to be and that's a key part of this. I'm getting ready. That was one of the bullet points. I'll just go there. But if we're going to be the resource for them, be the resource for them. Okay, and don't wait for them to call you. Try the other way around. Okay, we're talking about a program here in a second. As far as we're gonna reach out to these people a lot more than we used to. The hell do we say to them? Guy, I said the same thing last time. You know, hey, how are the Chiefs doing? How are the kids? Where do I go? How about the call that, hey, just so you know, I have kind of a team around me of people that a lot of people will call me and they're not ready to buy or sell a house, and that's cool. But if you need a plumber, electrician, I have those resources available. And these people have been vetted through myself and my clients. If ever you need those, make me your first call. And even if they don't, they appreciate that you do that. Okay, that's being the resource for them.
How do we hold in tension that being a resource for people and being willing to, you know, refer people to other professionals? How do we balance that and the possible liability if it doesn't go right as a realtor?
Sure.
Is that just in a transaction or is that generally?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we have our list of people in our world. I don't warranty or guarantee anybody's work. No, but guess what? If they go pick up the yellow pages, if there is such a thing anymore, or look online to see who has the most stars, there's no guarantee in that world either, right? That's just how. What restaurant do you like, LB? What's your favorite steakhouse? What's this? Okay, they go there, have a bad experience. Sorry about that. They're not calling me for their money back. I had a great experience there. My steak was good.
Qualify them when we're referring.
Yeah.
Help them.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
I don't warrant their work, but go
I
ahead and give it
think
a try.
Lonnie put in that he has either had personal experience or his clients have had experience, and I always add in, hey, Mike, I've had some clients who've had great success with this guy. You might give him a call.
You've heard me
Or
say that
I've
100
had
times. Yeah.
Stuff using this guy, you might give him.
Yeah. And that's usually how our conversation looks is we're like, hey, you know, you need a plumber. Honestly, we've been using this guy quite a bit lately. And for the most part, our feedback's been really good. So he's our first phone call. You know, again, no guarantees, but I think you'll find Nick is a really good resource. It all falls in the same.
And say, hey, let me know how it goes for you. And it kind of gives you a permission to, you do get to find out, did they like them? Did they not like them? And then also it's another touch, it's another follow-up, it's another conversation, another call.
And then that phone call's followed up to the person that you just referred and said, hey, my client's gonna be giving you a call.
There you go.
Remember, your job is
Sure.
to make me look good.
When we refer Carpet for Less in Belton, Carpet for Less in Belton is kind of our flooring resource. It has been, especially now that Tom's gone. It's much easier.
Yeah.
But no, when people ask me, hey, LB, you're saying we need this, you know, who would you recommend? I go, honestly, I've tried all these different companies. We do all of our business with Carpet for Less. And I'll even just go, I'll tell you right now, they're not perfect, but they cover their tracks. And that's what I'm looking for in a business partner.
They're not perfect.
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, right. They were when he was there. And then they go, well, yeah, are they cheap? Are they the cheapest? I go, I have no idea, but I'm not looking for the cheapest in everything that I do. I'm looking for people that stand behind their work. If they jack something up, they'll be back to fix it. And guess what? The people 9 times out of 10 are going to call the person I told them to call. Because if they don't, then they're like, man, I should have went with the guy you you know, we're still waiting on Lowe's and the flooring, it's been 6 weeks, and you hear those kind of things, and I chuckle, on that. Anybody have anything to add along that conversation? It's really important. We want to be a resource. If you're going to ask and have an expectation for them to give you something really valuable, which is a referral or do business with you, don't you think we should have to reciprocate at some level?
If you have something to add to that, even your database, when you have, for instance, I told the story before, the pool guy,
Mhm.
that I don't know where I got him, and I was gonna delete him out. And I called him, and he used to work for Reese Nichols, he was a realtor, and, oh, by the way, he was gonna call a realtor and get his house listed, I'm listing, that's what I did.
Yep, I'm telling you, we got to get on the phone. We got to talk to people. We got to quit being scared of this thing. And we're not scared of the phone as much as we're scared of rejection. We're scared of the bumpy phone call. For whatever reason, it's human nature. But once you just admit it and go, okay, I want to get past that because I want to have something special. The people that get past that are the people doing a lot of business. Okay, they're like, so what? Guy hates me, big deal. You think Ryan Finn worried when somebody shot him down early on? He's like, hey, next, right? We got to have a little bit more of that mindset.
So, people in your database, so you-
Yeah, but no, you know, but when you're talking to kind of the general public, you just never know what's on the other end of the phone, right? Just don't worry about it. Gosh, look at it this way. When you pick up the phone, you have $0 coming to you from them, right? If you end the call, then you may still be in the same boat, right? Jake, did you have something, buddy?
This is gonna kind of sound douchey, but
First douchey of the day, Jake. Yeah.
like,
I don't see douchey anywhere up there.
you do when you have these 40 people that you're communicating to all the time, and they're inviting you to all this stuff and inviting you to all these things, and then now you have to balance. Like, I don't want to be a jerk and only invite them to real estate stuff that'll profit me, but I
Yeah.
also have a family you got to be for.
It's a give and take, isn't it? Yeah, it's not a perfect. Yeah, no, trust me. Every kid in my tight world, there's something sent to me about their kid's soccer or whatever the hell it is, right? I can just see it coming. Or, hey, you wouldn't know anybody that has any extra Chiefs tickets. Yeah, a lot of Chiefs tickets laying around these days, right? So you're just not going to be able to do that for everybody. It's just not possible. But you can act like you care, and hopefully you do care. You can constantly engage them and things like that. But we get that all the time. I mean, what did Girl Scout cookies? If I don't get 10 of those so if I told your, family I was going to do Girl Scout cookies and didn't, because I had 10 requests. So just handle it, just laugh about it. I mean, it's all you can really do. All right, let's talk about a few more things kind of in the same family of things. Was anybody having trouble finding the people that they were putting in their data? I mean, social media, right? Your phone, any other resources people went to that I don't know about that was helpful in getting the people's information? Oh, okay. Okay. Fast people search. I think Amber uses that. Yeah. Fast, and you don't have to sign up for anything? Okay.
You don't know if that's a house owner's cell phone, but if you click on their address, it'll also take you to when it was last purchased, what its square footage was, what its price was, all that, without even having to get out of that.
It's called what?
People. And type that into your search bar.
That's people search.
Yeah.
.com.
Okay.
Tim was talking about.
That's my favorite thing I've heard so far, by the way.
No, it's not.
Yeah, no, I mean, none of those things.
Found a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's part of your.
We usually try to find it and then verify it another way also once we
Yeah.
find it.
Right.
Then it'll show like names and also known as, so you kind of have an idea of approximately where they live or about how old they are, or maybe
It
you
does
know.
show age, so you
Then
can determine
you can
about.
kind of go, yeah, this is probably the right address.
Great.
If they're an investor property, you're kind of stuck because you're not really sure. But that's been our best one, better than white pages.
Perfect. All right, let's talk about the activities. So we all are working towards building this database, identifying who's the cream of the crop. Within the cream of the crop specifically, let's talk about the things that we're going to be needing to do. And Brandy will go deeper into systems on this and the number of contacts and all that sort of thing. And let me just lead off with this. If you guys are not willing to have a personal phone call, the people don't have any business being in your top 40. Okay. You don't have the relationship you think you do. If you're, in fact, I would be willing to say if you're kind of uncomfortable picking up the phone and talking to them, they probably haven't earned the right to really be in your top 40. Does that make sense? All the people that are in my top 40, I mean, they're on speed dial in my world. Okay. And I'm on speed dial in their world. It's a two-way street, right? They have a problem, they're going to call LB. That's how this thing goes. So we've got to be willing to do that. And those calls are going to be the secret sauce. Everything else is secondary to the personal phone call. You guys have heard me say it a million times. I almost would say, I don't care about your email campaigns. I don't care about your mailers and your handwritten notes and all the stuff that we do to communicate and touch. I would never give up the phone call. Okay. Do more phone calls and scrap other things, but do the phone call, because the phone call is what's going to create the personal piece of this, which is really the secret sauce. You guys get that? Which makes ease of communication better. When they get a handwritten note card, great touch. That didn't change the ease of communication. You wrote a card and you put it in the mail, right? You guys follow me? That didn't necessarily improve these things. It's the phone call, which is personal, that really moves the needle and moves them into you guys get that? Okay. And by the way, you'll find out so much. You'll really know where you stand when you talk to somebody versus emails. Has anybody ever sent an email and what comes back, you're like, oh, that's creepy. I mean, the phone call will take care of that, right? It's just the way things get lost in translation a little bit. So I think the aha there is our industry, the people that want to go further in our industry will have to quit doing what we're all wanting to do. And we're wanting to do anything but pick up the phone. Okay. We're wanting to use this email campaign, or, hey, I got this mailer thing. LB does mailers. I'm going to do them, all that kind of stuff. We have a lot of things we do that supplement our business, but we will not give up the personal contacts with our key people. Okay. So whoever's going to make the most phone calls, I'll go ahead and say you're going to win. And if you're like, well, I'm not that good on the phone, you'll get good because you're going to be on the phone a lot. Okay. You will get better over time. You'll suck at first, and then you'll just be okay, and then you'll be adequate. Okay. And some of us will get really, really adequate. We'll get really special on the phone. So that's priority one, guys, is we must figure out how to touch base. Well, how much? How often? I mean, you guys get caught up in more crap. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Right. I guarantee you. Yeah. Well, or they'll just run into somebody in real estate. We've got to touch base with them. If we want to make it strong relationship, we've got to talk to them.
For sure. One of the early bowls I went to, or whatever, I think it was Scott Toombs, that was talking about every door you knock on or phone call you make could be a potential closing on the other end of the phone. You don't know. And he asked, what's your average commission check, or for your office? So in our office, it's about $8,300. So if you told yourself, if I call this person, there could be an $8,300 check on the other side of that phone call, would I make that call? Well, you'll never know if there is or isn't until you make the call. And so that really helped me make some calls. It's like, hey, I'm gonna whip up some rocks and see if I find some business here.
Yeah.
Make some calls and see what shakes out. See what happens. So the same thing with door knocking. If you knock on a door, it could be an $8,300 paycheck or more. You never know until you knock on the door.
You never know. You never know. Yeah. I told this story at team meeting, I think the other day, but somehow I got into a conversation I never would have got in if I wasn't doing this stuff. And it was a $13,000 listing, and they're going to buy a house that'll probably get us 15 to 18. So, it was a $30,000 conversation. Now, by the way, that's not going to happen every time, and it happens rarely. I'll go ahead and go with that. But it happened. It only happened because somebody pushed me to really focus on these activities. In this case, it was me that pushed me. Okay. You guys got me pushing. Okay. And Brandy and other people, but we got to find accountability somehow. I don't know what that looks like. And for everybody, it's a little bit different. Joe has a lot of business interests besides his retail business. A lot of us have these things. It's easy to have those become the priority of the day, right, Joe? And so, wow, I intended on making 2 real solid calls in my database today to my VIPs and just didn't get to it. My world, that means we got 4 tomorrow. Okay, or Saturday, we're going to catch up on all of them, right? If we're really going to do this at a high level, that's how we have to think. So another thing that people are doing a lot of is texting. I think for especially the younger crowd, that's how they like to communicate, isn't it? That's really my only thing with I think texting is really valuable, and those touches are really easy, right? But don't just send somebody a text. Have a question embedded in there and say, hey, how are you guys doing? Finish with a question mark that creates a conversation, not just, hey, man, I'm here for you anytime you need me. Okay. Or you could say, hey, I'm here for you anytime you need me. How was that trip to New Orleans over the holidays? Okay. Which one do you think is going to be more effective to getting an open line of communication? The one that has a question involved in it. You guys get that? Night and day. On social media, it's awesome when you guys like something. You know, you've heard me bitching and moaning about that all the time. That almost is worthless. Okay. It's nothing. Like it and then make a nice comment and say, so cool, you know, like, oh, your daughter graduated from wherever. How exciting. I remember her when she was 12 years old. I can't believe she's graduated from KU, you know, stuff like that. How do you guys feel about it? Oh, question mark at the end of that. Now they have to, they will respond back to you. You guys, one's open-ended and one's closed-ended. Okay. Yes. Salesmanship 101.
The best bet is to make a part of the smile face or whatever that is, not just a like, comment with 5 words, and then jump into their messenger and say, ask your questions. Because what's going to happen is when you do those 3 things, 5 words, and then jump into messenger or DM or whatever it is, starts popping that algorithm for you.
Okay. There's a whole nother level. Yeah.
Start seeing more of their stuff. Facebook says that you've got a relationship, it's an interaction, and then that's also building that. So 5 words, comment with 5 words.
And spot on. And when I get into Messenger with these people, now I can have my conversation. I can ask the question I really wanted to ask, but not.
Because you're not a public domain. Yeah.
And put myself in that number. 4 out of 5 now. Put myself in that.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Make
That
Facebook
works
work for
very
you.
well.
Make it work for you.
Yeah. You guys see the difference? There's just a total difference. We got to just figure out how we want to go about this thing. I'm a big believer in always wanting something coming back at me versus me just go, how cool or whatever. It's like, how cool? How do you feel about that? You know, I want them to engage back and forth. By the way, that creates more and more conversations, more and more personal. We're building relationship and taking it to the top of the pyramid. Yep.
On Messenger or through text, you can send a text with your voice.
Oh, wow.
So you can leave your voice
Yeah.
on Messenger, you know.
I haven't quite got to that technology. Yeah. Yeah. Is that what that is? Hello?
It will change it into text, so if they can't listen to it right then, they can read what you said,
Cool.
but they can, it's kind of a nice touch, to hear your voice. It's like a little extra connection with.
So text with voice. Who does that? Anybody do that? Okay. Oh, I like it. I like that. That's cool. Yeah.
Only because if they're like surfing at night, they're like next to somebody in bed,
Oh,
listen to it.
But the words can come up. But it will-
Oh, yeah, what's that? Oh, okay.
Very well. I got a friend who.
or if they're driving.
I get when I call them. I said, if you had time to leave that message, you had time to call.
There you go. See, guys, we're thinking differently. We're just trying to find out what works. But we've got to do some activities. We got to do these things to make this thing sing. Okay, let's talk about, again, we're talking about this 40 now, right? This is the cream of the crop. These are the people that are going to be worth multiple 6 figures over a certain number of years, right? They get a special VIP treatment. These people deserve belly to belly. In other words, yes, we're going to call them. Yes, we're going to text them. And yeah, we're going to comment on Facebook and do all these other things. That's great. But I highly recommend for your top 40 people that you figure out how to get belly to belly with them. Okay. Trisha, I just saw you post something saying anybody want to have a meeting or something like that. Whatever. Free coffee. Okay. There you go.
I have
Perfect.
one.
Go leave. No, I'm not taking it. We're done at 1. My voice is shot. So the reality is those people earn the right to be belly to belly. They're the people you have an expectation of doing multiple business with over multiple years. Why the heck wouldn't we buy a cup of coffee, a cold beer, wine, whatever people like to do, or just get belly to belly, right? Client events. If those of you that do client events, the whole idea of a client event is getting in front of these people, or we'll call it belly to belly again, right? So then you're talking to them, you're texting them, you're emailing, you're doing Facebook, all these things. And now you're really across the desk from them. Okay. My top like 5 or 6, by the way, all 40 people not created equal. Okay. Some of the people at the very top of the pyramid, there's some people here that I've done 12, 14 transactions with. So there's a couple guys now, I don't even know how many, but 20, 30. that they've referred to me over 15 years. Okay. So you think I'm going to get belly to belly? They'll never buy a beer around me. There's no possible way. That they've earned that, right? And so you have to look at that as who deserves that kind of treatment. Pop buys. Anybody do pop buys anymore? Pop buy is just a small gift. Yeah. You just drop by their office or place of business or wherever they might be, and by the way, small, $5, $10. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It's the thought that counts with those things. Some agents literally, they think that's the most important thing that they do in their entire database. Jake, did you have something on that? Oh, I'm sorry. Caesar.
Just wondering, that guy with 20 plus deals, whatever, so what do you call him? You got anything for me, or what do you say?
When you have somebody like that in your world, you don't have to say anything because the track record's already been set. I'm the guy, all things real estate, and he's the guy, all things stocks. I never would I have if somebody says, what asset manager do you use? I go with this guy. He's a boutique broker. He's hands-on, or you can go to creative and get lost in the shuffle. So we have that kind of relationship and have had for many, many years. So I hope you guys get people like that, but don't think you have to have those people. As important as he is to me, if his wife gets a real estate license tomorrow, guess what? He's a goose egg probably the rest of the way, right? Or his kid who's graduated from college goes into real estate. I'm out. That's how that's going to work.
And if you don't have time to get belly to belly, you can leave pop by, take a picture and text it to him and say, hey, I stopped by and left you this little gift, and they'll communicate that.
But the whole idea is we need more banter. We need a lot more contacts, and we need to have those contacts go deeper to make all of this flow. You guys get that? So texting, again, text the people, check in on them. That is all great, but it needs to be open-ended. It needs to create something back. Like, hey, congrats on your daughter graduating from William Jewell. What's next for her? Right? Then so open-ended. Now there's going to be a text coming back with an answer. I guarantee it. People can't not respond to something like that. And then you'll have a back and forth and back and forth. Yep.
I find love to talk about. They love you ask a question about them. They love to tell you.
Yeah. Somebody that lost a lot of weight or has been in a fitness craze and now they're all ripped and ready to go. Yeah, they'll talk all day about that.
I think it's also, I always feel like when I look at the name and the thing is, okay, what problem does this person have that I can solve today, right? Or what problem do I have that this person can solve for me? Because people like to reciprocate back business. So sometimes if I can make a phone call and say, hey, I got a problem, can you help me with this? Can go just as far as me calling up and saying, hey, you know what? I saw that you're doing this and I have a solution for that.
Yeah.
Right? That can work both ways.
Yeah.
So people like to give back also.
Love it. Love it.
And then, recently I'm courting a financial advisor, right? And he sent me a few different deals, some people that live out of state and own some investment properties. Nothing's quite panned out yet. And I sent him some people that, hey, I just ran across a big chunk of money. I don't know what to do with it. So I took the opportunity. I just closed with a client. She's over in Foxwood Springs. They just got $250,000. They're going to need it at some point, but hey, can you talk to my client for me, invest, advise them on how they can do with this, right?
Yeah.
Now I've set my past client up with somebody that can help him, and I've referred business to somebody that I want to send business to.
There you go. Guys, this isn't brain surgery. Here's the difference, and back to a Facebook example. Say I had somebody on my database and they just got back from Jamaica or something, right? I have a couple choices. I can see the picture of Jamaica and their whole family and I can hit like. Okay, that's awesome. I could I could like it and make a comment. Oh, amazing trip. Closed-ended, right? Or I could do that and then also say, amazing trip. Would you go there again? Who helped you with that? That looks like such an amazing place. We may want to go there. Then I've just opened a massive conversation around their trip. Okay. So to have communication grow with these people, those are the techniques we have to have. By the way, it's always interesting. I want to know if did they like, I actually care. Did you have a good time in Jamaica? No, we thought it was unsafe. Couldn't go out at night. Good to know. Right? I got lost in downtown Montego Bay at dark one time. So it's the fact that I'm still here is amazing. But that's still scar tissue. But you see the difference, guys. But you have to be pretty purposeful and intentional about doing that because it's real easy to just click. You can do that, but if you want to have value in what you're doing, if you want it to really matter, get some dialogue going with these people. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, big difference. Now this person's going to get back to me and say, we really did love it. Cindy's our travel agent. You should call her if you guys want to go. Call me if you want any more information. Guess who's, you think I'm going to call? Yeah, I'm going to get him on the phone, right? Yes, Annette, did you have something? Scratching, do not scratch around here. Okay. So social media, we've talked enough about that. Guys, there's a million things out there we can do to make our presence with the key people in our world. In Command, we use Command for everything. So if you guys spend money on different things, that's totally cool. We converted to Command, everything, our whole business runs through it and it seems to work, okay? They have a neighborhood thing in there. I don't know if you guys have looked at that, where if somebody lives in Creekmore, for example, you just, on an automated basis, we'll send them all the Creekmore data every month, okay? That's pretty basic, right? There's not much to that, but it's just one more touch. Now that one's not very personal. So if you're not following that up with some other things, and if you're relying on just that, you're doing nothing. Just go ahead and put that. If it's your one of 30 or 36 and what Brandy's going to train us on, cool, no problem with that. But that's not going to be what we lead out with. Well, you can do that. This thing just won't perform. Okay. So if you want your database to be worth multiple six figures, or you want it to just be nothing, you get to pick there. So obviously the neighborhood nurture. I like what Paul said. Why, instead of that, or in addition to that, what if also just periodically you said, hey, I thought you guys, I know you've lived in Eagle Glen for a long time. Here's just a quick snapshot of what's going on in there. Here's the active, pending, and sold in the last 90 days. Thought you might just find this interesting. I'm here for you if you need me. Boom. Just send that out to them. Okay. That, first of all, it takes about 90 seconds to do that. Okay. That's really easy. For me, those little touches are good ones too, okay, versus just what comes across in our, I think those are a little more personal, quite frankly. Does that make sense? Okay, and what if they don't own a home? Everybody's like, well, not everybody in my database owns a house, or they don't live in a subdivision. I'm sorry about that. They don't use that. What? Yeah, or you live on acreage in Harrisville? Here's the last 20 acreages in Harrisville that sold. Thought you might find this interesting. Let me know if I can help you with it, right? Touch, 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 touch. There's a lot of things we can be doing, but we got to do something. We got to do the work, right? Handwritten notes, cards, Chris, great supplement. That's another one of those great touches, very personal. Again, you're writing them a card, so you're not getting anything right back. There's no conversation, so it's not two-way, but it's a great gesture. I've always been a big believer in those too. I don't do them like I used to. I don't know why. I guess I'm just getting old and lazy. But people they do respond really well to that too. And by the way, when you have people having bad things going on in their world, not just congratulations on your promotion type stuff, but the really bad things that happen to all of us, a card from you that has some writing in it about that event means a ton to those people. So again, we want to make things personal. And by the way, when you have one of those events, guess what ends up happening? You'll be getting those same you'll get that reciprocation from that group. That's how you know you have the personal relationship, because it becomes two-way instead of just one way. You guys get that? Okay, trust me. When one of my, especially my VIPs, that something awful happens in the world, we're all over it. I mean, we are all over it. We don't miss it in any way, shape, or form. Really, really important that you're there for not just when there's an $8,000 commission on the other end. That makes sense. Let's see, data, we talked about that. Paul talks about just doing an annual CMA for people. Just, hey, just wanted you to have this. This is a CMA on your house. This is how I would appraise your house, just in case you were curious. By the way, Zillow says it's worth this. Just that information, that's another great touch. Gives them something to open and talk about.
Yeah, I said this, I did get like I sent out 10 for 2 days in a row.
Mm-hmm. Really good.
I got 2 people on each of those days that said they did have real estate needs coming up, not today.
Yeah.
But this year and next year.
Right.
So that wasn't bad.
No. Again, you guys, I hate to say it, but if we force you to come in here and do nothing but touch people, all of a sudden you're going to go, you're not going to believe this. Well, this guy just told me his dad's going to have to go into managed care and can't do steps anymore. And he's asking me to come over and comp the house. Oh my God, I don't know how to do that. We'll help you, right? But if you don't make that touch, that phone call, that won't happen. I can assure you that will not happen. Not one person in here has ever sold a house in an open house that they didn't hold the frickin' open house. Guarantee it, right? Hasn't happened. Kay is one of those people, she can hold one a year, and that one, a buyer comes in, she double dips the deal and makes 20 grand. Okay. Yeah, cash. Yeah. She's got that. I don't have that kind of luck, but it's happened. So guys, there's a lot of ways to touch base with these people. They're critical, but do not give up the most personal things, the things that allow you to have a two-way conversation. And like I said, you'll get those cues as to exactly where you stand with them. And how important you are to them and their life and where you stand. And sometimes you're not getting the cues you want to hear. That's okay, but I'd like to know where I stand personally. All right, let's kind of work towards buttoning this up a little bit. Give me a couple, first of all, ahas that we can share, and that might open a couple more conversations. Anything today that was maybe a little different than the way you looked at it before we started this?
It's really easy to do everything but what the job's about, which is top of mind.
Yeah.
You know, and Mark King uses the analogy of Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes' job is to score touchdowns and throw the ball. Then why, it'd be dumb for him to show up to the offensive line practice.
He's not out kicking field goals.
Yeah. To me, that's what's.
Yeah.
It's not like all of them are on Facebook, liking. If you call as many times as you like, we're all gonna do that.
Yeah. Well, we have some people that are first year in this business, second year in the business, brand new, first month. And what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? If you do nothing else, this should be the thing that is your primary focus. And if this intimidates you, then let's break it down so it doesn't. Let's figure out who are the key people in this world. Otherwise, you can survive. And we have people that thrive, do none of this, by the way. It's possible. I'm just saying it's not likely. And when you don't do business with people in your world or referrals from your world, you're doing business with the general public and total strangers most of the time. And trust me, it's hard enough to do business with people that trust you and everything. Do a lot of business with the general public over and over again, and you're going to go, people are crazy, right? You're just going to say that. It's a night and day different experience. What else? Ryan, did you have an aha? Yes.
I've actually acquired a business through it. It worked very well with the business I acquired, and I think we paid out almost 60 or 70 grand the first year. It's a tiered status. I didn't pay $1 for this business. I negotiated the deal, and this book takes you through it. And you buy this book for yourself and for the person's business you want to acquire and go through it together. But it shows you exactly how to tier down, and there's different strategies for depending on what type of business they're in, whether it's hiring or they just want to get out of the business, whatever it may be. But it allows you to do that, and you pay them a referral fee. So it's a higher in the first year because it's more hands-on for them. It tiers down as the years go by. After the third year sunsets, the database is yours at that point. You can come up with it. And so it's a great way if you have an agent that you have a relationship with that maybe you get out of the business. You want to talk to them about acquiring and growing yours. It's a great way to achieve a lot of good things.
Yeah. 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 I was retired 5 years ago, according to Devon.
Thing is, if you do 12 pieces of business in a year, one a month, that's just one a month, $8,300 commission on the average.
100 grand.
That's $100,000 a year. So if we could just call throughout the month till we get one deal, we've got $100,000 business.
I could take anybody in this room, and if I could close those doors, there's a reason they slide, and force them to sit in here, and they knew what to say and who to call, but they did it. I mean, they had to write it down, they did it, and they effed it up 10 different ways. If they just were consistent, you would get to that number. Yeah, you might not the first year. In fact, you will most likely wouldn't the first year, but second year it would start to show. Even if you're terrible, okay. And I think most of our people get, they're around other people that are successful. They have a little bit of an advantage. What other ahas? Anything else yeah, please, James.
I think figuring out how I can add value to the people that I'm asking to do business.
Yeah.
So whether it's my financial advisors, sending
Sure.
them people, or fooling guy trying to send them business, So how am I adding value to them? So that helps me, I'm at the top of their mind because I'm sending them business as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. And don't make it about the next commission. Make it about just being a resource for them. And now, again, trust me, once you open that, it's a little Pandora's box there, I mean, it's not uncommon for Amber to get calls, especially the first time it gets really hot or cold. Our clients are calling, wanting to know who our HVAC guy is. And you kind of be careful what you ask for thing. But if we want to be the go-to resource, we want to be the go-to resource, right? It's what we're saying is a priority. Anybody else? Yeah, go. Yeah, I know you do. Sorry, we pay a lot for that, Caesar. Don't miss it. Anybody look at anything differently? Like, okay, I didn't really look at it that way. Anything different? We train a lot here, so hopefully there's not a lot of we weren't starting from scratch on anything. Yeah, we got to do the work. How do we hold ourselves accountable to do that though? Because, you know, if James leaves here today, he's having a great year in real estate, and says, hey, Lonnie, I'm going to have my 200 people built out, identify my top 40 and all that. I won't know if he does it, right? I won't. But if he had an accountability partner, yeah. Sometimes, but we have a lot of people that are successful without doing this. And then they go, wow, you know, Brannigan's really successful. Like, I hope she's listening. Brannigan, she can do business standing on her head. Most of us, that won't work. Wouldn't have worked for me. Okay. So want to play probability? You want to build a business that's use the most probable way to build it. You follow the way others have built it most successfully, not the way a handful of others have done it.
Phone calls and, oh, by the way, do enough calls to get one of them.
Yeah. This isn't a vacuum. These are all your other things going on in your life in addition to, we've got to do this. Guys, I'll wrap up with this. Once I started going down this bunny trail, I of course checked my top 40 to be sure there was no mistakes and all that. So we did that back in December. And I'm like, now I want my top 40 to be top 80. Oh, I want my top 80 to be 120. So I'm 300 something people into this now. You talk about a lot of time. I mean, Brandy's seen me in this office, spend 2.5, 3 hours in December. I just started geeking out on it. And I had all these ahas because every time I pulled up somebody deeper down on the list, it made me think of the Valentine family. What did I sell them? Oh, I sold them a house in Bel-Ray about 6 years ago. Oh, and they referred me their daughter a couple years after that. And it just made your mind just starts going down all these. It's really fascinating. And like I said, there's value in the exercise. So you guys are going to hear a lot more about this just constantly. Sorry about that. You know, so many of you guys are like, hey, how do I make this work for me? How do I make this work for me? This is the direction I'm going to point you in every single time. You want to buy leads, you want to do all those things, perfect. But we've got to be thinking about the people that are already in our world in some fashion. Okay. I don't know if there's a right answer there. I think that each person is different. I think having a personal touch once a month, whether that's a phone call, a belly to belly, going to a ball game, a coffee, I think once a month for the really, really important people is valid. I think and by the way, that's time consuming, a little bit of work, but these are the people that are going to be foundational to a business. What do you think, Brandy?
No, I love it. Brainstorming here, I don't have an answer, but it'd be cool if we all kind of stayed in touch with this project to say, hey, I called this person I never would have called, or you know, I was about to pull them out of my top 40 and I called them and I'm going to go have an appointment now. It'd be cool to hear those success stories.
Yeah.
If we could find a way, come to me. I want to hear your success stories when you're geeking out on, come tell me. I want to hear that. I want to celebrate with you. But I think it would be encouraging if we're all knowing I'm not alone in this. There's a whole group of us doing the same thing. You know, for some of us, you've been at this for a while. It's a relaunch. I'm relaunching. I've been at this for a little bit. I need to restart.
Yeah.
You know, I've got my database. I've cleaned it up because of this. Now I'm ready to call and see what happens and what shakes out because of it.
And trust me, over time, it's all but guaranteed. I don't care how talented somebody is. If they'll just do the work with the right people, it's inevitable. And like I said, I gave myself 8 years of a miss. I was doing great business and all those things, but none of this was happening. I wasn't building that foundation back then. I didn't figure that out until I got into KW and well into KW. So shame on me. Where could we be right now? And I'm not complaining about my business, but it could be even bigger and stronger and more sustainable and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun to go through this and think about the transactions you've done with this family, or when they called you when their roof was leaking. All those things are happening, or when you commented on the loss of their father, different things. It kind of replays the relationship you have with them. And it makes those phone calls so much easier, so much easier. Anybody have anything else? Yep.
Don't wait 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Put on your calendar for 8 years from today. Yeah. Here's the thing. You guys, Gary Keller said, you're in the database business. We just don't call it that. Okay. You are in the database. Instead of the real estate card, you should say you're in the database business instead of the real estate business. You really are, if you think about it. It's right or wrong. That's how it works.
You never know where your next big referral person is coming from. You just don't know. That's why it's so important to keep in contacts. I looked through some of my files and some of our VIPs, and they weren't from just a referral. They were a referral from a referral. I had to get 2 or 3 deep before I got to that person. But when I got to that person, then that blew out into 8 transactions from that one person. But if I didn't continue to keep working and contacting people, I could have never got referred referred that business from the second or third person to get you to them. So you never know where that person's gonna be coming from, continue to make these contacts. We go.
When we looked at, when I narrowed it down to my first top 40, for lack of a better term, it was either 5 or 6. I can't remember the number, but let's just say 5 of those people, I haven't known them more than 2 years. So it's not just, oh, well, he's a dinosaur, he's been in the business forever, and that's why he's got this great thing that produces all this money. 5 of those people I haven't known more than 2 years. So they got into our world recently. It's funny how that works.
Referral, I usually, once I get a referral from someone, I send them an AM card.
Like
Thank
that,
you for
yeah.
the Gift card for $25. And I didn't go back and look at those for my.
Mhm. There you go. Shame.
Right now, today, in this class, it's an exercise we do in bold. We write ourselves a letter where we wanna be in 6 months. You can, put it in an envelope, put your name on it, have it sent to Keller Williams, and you can give it to Brandy, and in 6 months, Brandy can mail them all out to your house, and then you will see what you did in this pocket.
Or if you did it.
It's eye-opening. By the way, we had however many it was, 60 people that said, I accept the challenge. All that kind of, 20 of them aren't here today. So we're off to a slow start. Now, granted, there are dual career people that can't be here, and some of them are listening to me right now, just going, you know. That's all right.
We're not here next, well, office staff is not here next Monday, but following Monday at 10 a.m. I'll be teaching a class on a 36 touch. What that means is a systematic plan for a year of how you're gonna interact with these people, with phone calls being the bedrock of the 36 touch, and supplementing that with texts, social media posts, client events, cards, hot buys, all that stuff. It's a systematic way to interact with your database. If you're interested in learning what a 36 touch is and how to implement it, be at that class Monday the 27th.
Yeah, there you go. That's the instructions. Go ahead. Did you have something?
10 a.m. Monday the 27th.
Yeah, be sure you put that out there.
Yeah,
That's,
it's my calendar.
yeah.
I will, I gotta be systematic at how I throw things at you. I don't wanna overwhelm you.
And again,
Yes.
don't get caught up on the 36 piece, because when you see the breakdown of it, you're like, oh, a lot of this is automated. A lot of it just does it on its own. So I don't have to call them 36 times, do I? They're in this group. You probably want to, but it's up to you. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for being here. Yep. Go implement this stuff. We'll make a crap ton of money. I promise you that.